In a peaceful garden where flowers nodded softly in the evening breeze, there lived a small white rabbit named Cotton and a wise old turtle named Sage. The garden was their special place, filled with tall, swaying grass that whispered gentle secrets and sweet-smelling lavender that helped everyone feel calm and peaceful. Cotton the rabbit loved to hop among the flowers, his soft white fur catching the golden light of sunset. Sage the turtle enjoyed taking slow, peaceful walks through the garden paths, admiring each flower and leaf along the way. They were the very best of friends, even though they moved at different speeds. One quiet evening, as purple shadows began to stretch across the garden, Cotton had a wonderful idea. "Dear friend Sage," he said softly, "would you like to play a gentle game of hide and seek?" Sage smiled warmly at his energetic friend and nodded slowly. "That sounds lovely," he replied in his calm, peaceful voice. Cotton offered to be the seeker first. He settled himself beneath a large, friendly oak tree and began to count slowly and steadily. 1, 2, 3. He counted, while Sage moved unhurriedly through the garden. The evening air was sweet with the scent of jasmine, and somewhere nearby, a dove cooed softly. Sage walked thoughtfully through the garden, considering all the peaceful places where he might rest. He passed the pond, where water lilies floated like tiny boats on the still surface. He wandered by the rose bushes, their petals closing gently for the night. Finally, he found the perfect spot behind a patch of tall, soft grasses that swayed like dancers in the evening breeze. When Cotton finished counting, he opened his eyes and looked around the tranquil garden. The setting sun painted everything in soft shades of gold and pink. He hopped quietly along the path, his ears swaying gently as he moved. Where could Sage be? He wondered softly to himself. Cotton looked behind the old stone wall, where moss grew in thick, velvet patches. He peeked beneath the branches of the weeping willow tree, whose leaves draped down like a curtain of green rain. He checked near the butterfly bush, where the last few butterflies of the day were settling down to rest. As he searched, Cotton noticed so many peaceful things he hadn't seen before. He saw a family of sleepy birds nestling into their cozy nest. He spotted dewdrops beginning to form on spider webs that sparkled like strings of tiny stars. He heard the gentle rustle of leaves in the evening breeze, making a soft lullaby. Finally, Cotton approached the patch of tall grasses. Moving very quietly, he saw the outline of his friend's shell among the green stems. "I found you, Sage," he whispered with a gentle smile. Sage emerged slowly, looking peaceful and content. "What a lovely hiding spot you found," Cotton said softly. Now it was Sage's turn to seek. Cotton watched as his friend made his way to the counting tree, moving with slow, steady steps. Sage began to count in his deep, calming voice, and Cotton hopped away to hide, being careful not to rush or make sudden movements. Cotton found a cozy spot beneath a flowering bush, where soft petals dropped down like snow around him. He could smell the sweet perfume of the flowers and feel the cool earth beneath his paws. As he waited, he watched the stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky, twinkling like gentle night lights. Sage moved through the garden with peaceful purpose, taking time to appreciate every detail along his way. He noticed how the evening primrose was opening its yellow petals to greet the moon. He paused to watch a gentle breeze make the flowers dance. He smiled at the sight of fireflies beginning to float through the air like tiny drifting stars. As Sage searched, he remembered all of Cotton's favorite places in the garden. He checked the herb patch, where the mint and thyme released their soothing scents into the evening air. He looked near the old garden bench, where they often sat together to watch the sunset. He peered behind the stone bird bath, where morning doves came to splash and play. Eventually, Sage's patient searching led him to the flowering bush. There he found Cotton, curled up comfortably among the fallen petals. "Found you, dear friend," Sage said softly, his voice as gentle as the evening itself. Cotton emerged with a peaceful smile, covered in soft pink petals that made him look like a flower himself. As the night grew deeper and the moon rose higher, Cotton and Sage sat together on their favorite garden bench. They watched as more and more stars appeared in the velvet sky, and fireflies danced like floating dreams around them. The garden was filled with the gentle sounds of crickets singing their evening lullaby. "Thank you for playing with me, Sage," Cotton whispered, feeling warm and content beside his friend. "Sometimes the slowest games are the most wonderful." Sage nodded wisely. "And sometimes," he added in his soothing voice, "taking time to move slowly helps us see the most beautiful things." As the night wrapped its gentle arms around the garden, Cotton and Sage made their way to their homes. Cotton to his soft burrow lined with downy feathers and flower petals, and Sage to his cozy shelter beneath the old oak tree. They both fell asleep feeling peaceful and happy, knowing that sometimes the quietest moments with friends are the most special of all. The garden settled into its nighttime peace, with flowers nodding their sleepy heads and stars twinkling their gentle light. And if you listened very carefully, you might hear the soft whisper of the evening breeze, telling the story of a rabbit and turtle who knew that the best games are played with gentle hearts and peaceful spirits. In a cozy burrow beneath an ancient oak tree lived a small bunny named Luna. Her soft gray fur was as fluffy as dandelion seeds, and her ears were as gentle and pink as spring flower petals. Each evening, as the sun painted the sky in soft shades of lavender and gold, Luna would wiggle her tiny nose and breathe in the sweet forest air. One peaceful evening, as the first stars began to twinkle above the treetops, Luna noticed something magical. The forest seemed different, bathed in a gentle silver light that made everything sparkle like morning dew. The moon was full and round, casting a soft glow through the leaves that danced slowly in the evening breeze. Luna hopped out of her burrow, her paws landing softly on the cool grass. The moss beneath her feet felt like the softest blanket, and the evening air wrapped around her like a warm hug. She watched as fireflies began to emerge, their gentle lights floating through the air like tiny stars that had come down to play among the trees. As she ventured further into the moonlit forest, Luna discovered a beautiful meadow filled with flowers that seemed to glow in the moonlight. Blue forget-me-nots nodded their sleepy heads, while white clover flowers released their sweet, honey scent into the night air. Luna gently touched each flower with her nose, taking in their soothing fragrance. A wise old owl named Oliver watched from his perch in a nearby tree. His feathers were as soft as clouds, and his golden eyes held all the warmth of sunset. "Good evening, little one," he cooed softly. "Are you enjoying the magic of the night garden?" His voice was as gentle as falling leaves. Luna nodded, feeling completely safe in the presence of the kind owl. "Everything looks so different in the moonlight," she whispered. It's as if the forest has put on its silver pajamas and is getting ready for sleep. Oliver smiled, his eyes twinkling like stars. Together, they watched as other nighttime friends began to emerge. A family of deer stepped quietly through the meadow, their movements as fluid as flowing water. Little field mice scurried softly through the grass, gathering seeds for their bedtime snack. Even the crickets seemed to play a special lullaby, their gentle chirping mixing with the soft rustling of leaves. As Luna explored, she found a small stream that trickled through the meadow. The water moved so slowly and peacefully that it looked like liquid moonlight. She sat beside it, watching the tiny ripples make patterns that reminded her of sweet dreams dancing on the surface. A gentle breeze carried the scent of sleepy flowers and fresh pine needles. Luna's eyelids began to feel heavy as she listened to the stream's quiet song. Oliver glided down from his branch and settled nearby, his presence as comforting as a favorite bedtime story. "Would you like to hear about the moon's secret garden?" Oliver asked, his voice barely louder than a whisper. Luna nodded sleepily as she nestled into a patch of soft moss. The owl began to tell her about how the moon tends to her garden of stars each night, planting dreams that bloom in the hearts of sleeping forest creatures. As Oliver spoke, Luna watched the moonflowers slowly open their petals, releasing their sweet nighttime perfume. Each blossom seemed to hold a different dream within its silvery center. Some held dreams of floating on clouds, others of dancing with butterflies, and some of snuggling in warm burrows with loved ones. The night grew deeper, and Luna's adventures began to wind down like a gentle lullaby coming to its end. She felt peaceful and content, knowing it was time to return to her cozy home. Oliver offered to guide her back, floating silently above her as she hopped along the moonlit path. When they reached her burrow, Luna turned to thank her new friend. "Will I see you again?" she asked with a sleepy smile. Oliver nodded gently. "The night garden welcomes all dreamers, little one. Sweet dreams await you whenever you wish to visit." Luna snuggled into her soft bed of dried grass and flower petals, feeling warm and safe. She could still hear the crickets' lullaby and the whisper of the breeze through the leaves. As her eyes grew heavy, she remembered all the peaceful moments of her adventure: the glowing flowers, the trickling stream, and the gentle presence of her new friend Oliver. The moon continued to shine her silver light through the entrance of Luna's burrow, creating patterns that danced softly on the walls, like sweet dreams coming to life. Luna's breathing became slow and steady, matching the peaceful rhythm of the sleeping forest. She drifted off to sleep, carrying the magic of the night garden in her heart, knowing that peaceful adventures and gentle dreams would always be waiting for her beneath the smiling moon. As the night deepened, the forest settled into its own peaceful slumber. The flowers closed their petals, the crickets softened their song, and even the stars seemed to twinkle more slowly. Luna slept soundly in her cozy burrow, dreaming of moonlit meadows and the gentle wisdom of her friend Oliver, while the forest watched over her with its quiet, loving presence. In a peaceful meadow, where soft grass swayed in the evening breeze, there lived two very different friends, a tortoise named Theodore and a hare named Henry. Theodore loved taking slow, peaceful walks as the sun began to set, while Henry usually preferred to hop and skip through his days. But on this particular evening, something wonderful was about to happen. The air was warm and sweet with the scent of wildflowers, and fluffy clouds drifted lazily across the sky like cotton balls floating in a sea of soft blue. Theodore was just beginning his evening walk when he spotted Henry sitting quietly under an old oak tree, looking thoughtful. "Good evening, Henry," Theodore said in his gentle voice. "Would you like to join me for a peaceful walk? The evening is so beautiful." Henry looked up at his friend with a soft smile, and for the first time, he didn't feel the urge to rush around. "I would love that, Theodore," Henry replied softly. "I've been thinking that maybe it would be nice to slow down and notice all the lovely things around us." Theodore's eyes crinkled with joy as Henry hopped over to join him. Together, they began their walk along a winding path through the meadow. Theodore showed Henry how to pause and notice the little wonders they passed. They watched as butterflies danced among the flowers, their wings painted in gentle shades of purple and blue. The friends stopped to admire how the evening light made the dewdrops sparkle like tiny stars on the grass. As they walked, Theodore and Henry discovered that moving slowly allowed them to see so many beautiful things they had never noticed before. They saw a family of mice making their cozy nest with soft pieces of grass and downy feathers. They watched as a gentle breeze made the flowers bow and sway in a peaceful dance. "Listen," Theodore whispered as they paused beneath a willow tree. "Can you hear the lullaby of the evening?" Henry closed his eyes and listened. He could hear the soft rustling of leaves, the quiet chirping of crickets beginning their evening song, and the gentle murmur of a nearby stream. The two friends continued their walk as the sky began to change colors. Soft pink and purple clouds floated overhead, and the first stars began to twinkle. A mother bird flew overhead, heading back to her nest, where her babies waited, cozy and warm. Theodore and Henry came to a peaceful pond where water lilies floated like little boats on the surface. The water reflected the sky like a mirror, making it seem as though they were walking through the stars themselves. A family of ducks glided silently across the water, creating gentle ripples that spread out in perfect circles. "I never knew walking slowly could be so wonderful," Henry said softly, watching as a firefly drifted past, its gentle light blinking like a tiny lantern. Theodore smiled warmly at his friend. "Sometimes the most beautiful things can only be seen when we take our time," he replied. As they walked, the evening grew softer and quieter. The moon rose like a silver pearl in the darkening sky, casting a gentle glow over the meadow. More fireflies began to appear, twinkling like earthbound stars among the grass and flowers. They passed beneath trees where owls were just awakening, their soft hooting adding to the evening's peaceful symphony. The friends watched as bats flew gracefully overhead, their wings making no sound as they danced through the twilight air. The path led them through a grove of ancient trees, their branches reaching up to the star-filled sky like gentle guardians. Moss grew soft and thick beneath their feet, making each step feel like walking on clouds. The air was filled with the sweet scent of night-blooming flowers. As the evening deepened, Theodore and Henry found themselves walking closer together, sharing the peaceful quiet of the night. They didn't need to speak much now. They simply enjoyed each other's company and the gentle beauty around them. They came to a small clearing carpeted with soft grass and surrounded by nodding flowers. "This seems like a perfect place to rest," Theodore suggested gently. Henry agreed, and they settled down together, looking up at the stars that now filled the sky like scattered diamond dust. The night air grew cooler, but it was still gentle and sweet. Crickets chirped their lullaby, and a soft breeze carried the scent of lavender and chamomile. Henry found himself yawning, feeling more peaceful than he had ever felt before. "Thank you for showing me how to slow down and enjoy the evening," Henry whispered to his friend. Theodore smiled softly. "And thank you for being such wonderful company," he replied. As they rested together in the clearing, they watched the stars twinkle and the moon sail slowly across the sky. The gentle sounds of the night wrapped around them like a warm blanket, and they felt completely at peace. The two friends stayed there, sharing the quiet joy of the evening, until their eyes grew heavy with sleep. They knew that this peaceful walk had changed something between them, creating a deeper friendship built on sharing life's gentle moments. And as the night grew deeper and the moon continued its quiet journey across the star-filled sky, Theodore and Henry drifted off to sleep, knowing that sometimes the most precious moments come when we learn to slow down and appreciate the peaceful beauty that surrounds us. In a peaceful forest where the sunbeams danced softly through the leaves, there lived a small bunny named Thistle. Thistle had the softest gray fur that sparkled like morning dew, and the gentlest heart that always saw the good in others. His favorite place in the whole forest was his cozy burrow beneath an old oak tree, where he would spend quiet afternoons sipping chamomile tea and watching butterflies drift by. Not far from Thistle's burrow lived a young fox named Maple. Unlike other foxes, Maple preferred collecting pretty leaves and arranging flowers to chasing after other animals. She had built herself a lovely treehouse high up in a sturdy maple tree, where she would spend peaceful evenings watching the sunset paint the sky in gentle colors. One particularly lovely spring morning, as Thistle was gathering fresh mint leaves for his tea, he noticed something floating down from above. It was a delicate paper invitation, decorated with pressed flowers. The invitation was from Maple, asking if he would like to join her for an afternoon tea party in her treehouse. Thistle had never been invited to a fox's home before, and for a moment his nose twitched with uncertainty. But then he remembered seeing Maple in the meadow, how tenderly she picked flowers, and how softly she walked through the forest. His heart told him that sometimes the most wonderful friendships come from unexpected places. The next afternoon, Thistle put on his favorite soft blue scarf and carefully packed a basket with fresh baked carrot cake. He followed the winding path through the forest, where wildflowers nodded their sleepy heads in the warm breeze. The walk was peaceful, accompanied by the gentle songs of birds and the whisper of leaves overhead. When Thistle reached Maple's tree, he discovered she had created a special climbing path just for him. Wooden steps wrapped around the trunk like a spiral ribbon, with soft moss cushioning each step. As he climbed higher and higher, the forest seemed to cradle him in its gentle embrace. Maple was waiting at the top, her russet fur glowing warmly in the afternoon light. Her treehouse was even more wonderful than Thistle had imagined. Soft cushions were scattered everywhere, and strings of dried flowers hung from the ceiling. The windows were draped with delicate lace curtains that danced in the breeze, and the wooden floor was covered with colorful woven rugs. "Welcome, dear Thistle," Maple said softly, her eyes twinkling with kindness. "I'm so happy you came." She had prepared a lovely tea table with cups made from acorn caps, plates fashioned from broad leaves, and a teapot that steamed with the scent of wild berries and honey. Together, they shared the most wonderful afternoon. Maple poured the tea with graceful movements, while Thistle arranged slices of his carrot cake on the leaf plates. They talked about their favorite quiet spots in the forest, shared stories about the gentlest rainfall they'd ever felt, and watched clouds drift by through the treehouse windows. As the afternoon stretched on like honey dripping from a spoon, they discovered they had so much in common. Both loved collecting smooth pebbles from the stream. Both enjoyed watching the moon rise over the treetops, and both knew the best spots to find the softest moss for napping. When the shadows grew long and soft, Maple brought out blankets she had woven herself from cattail fluff and dandelion down. They wrapped themselves in the cloud-like blankets and watched as the first stars began to twinkle in the dusky sky. "Would you like to come again tomorrow?" Maple asked, her voice as gentle as falling leaves. "We could share more tea and watch the sunset together." Thistle's heart felt as warm as the tea they had shared. "I would love that very much," he replied, his whiskers twitching with joy. As Thistle made his way home that evening, the forest seemed different somehow, even more magical and peaceful than before. The path was illuminated by fireflies that danced like tiny stars, guiding him safely back to his burrow. That night, as Thistle snuggled into his bed of soft grass, he thought about his wonderful new friend. He realized that sometimes the most beautiful friendships bloom in unexpected gardens, and that kindness can bridge any difference. From that day forward, Thistle and Maple's treehouse tea parties became a cherished tradition. Each afternoon, they would share tea and treats, watch the clouds drift by, and enjoy the peaceful company of an unlikely but perfect friendship. Their gentle gatherings became known throughout the forest as a place where all creatures could come together, share warm drinks, and find the comfort of true friendship. And as the seasons gently turned, their treehouse became a sanctuary of peace and warmth, where the softest conversations and sweetest dreams were shared over cups of steaming tea. Each sunset they watched together reminded them that sometimes the most precious moments are found in the quiet company of a dear friend. Wrapped in the warm embrace of acceptance, in a cozy burrow beneath an old oak tree, lived a small bunny named Cotton. Cotton's fur was as soft as morning clouds, and his heart was as warm as summer sunshine. Every evening, before settling into his nest of dried leaves and downy feathers, Cotton would carefully brush his teeth with his favorite purple toothbrush. One peaceful evening, as the golden sun was setting and painting the sky in gentle shades of pink and orange, something magical happened. Cotton's toothbrush began to sparkle with a soft, silvery light. Tiny stars seemed to dance around its bristles, twinkling like dewdrops in the morning light. "Hello, Cotton," whispered the toothbrush in a voice as gentle as a spring breeze. "I'm Marina, the Tooth Fairy's special helper. Would you like to join me on a peaceful adventure through the forest?" Cotton nodded softly, his ears swaying gently like flowers in a summer meadow. Together, Cotton and Marina floated out of the burrow, carried by a warm, gentle breeze. The forest was quiet and peaceful, with moonlight filtering through the leaves, creating patterns of silver light on the soft moss below. Fireflies danced slowly through the air, their gentle lights blinking like tiny stars. As they drifted along, they came upon a young deer who was having trouble sleeping. "My teeth feel uncomfortable," the deer whispered sadly. Marina glowed with a soft, comforting light. "We can help you," she said kindly. Cotton showed the deer how to brush properly, using gentle, circular motions, just as his mother had taught him. The deer's eyes grew heavy with contentment as Marina's magic helped soothe his teeth. "Thank you," he murmured sleepily, settling down in a bed of soft ferns. Cotton and Marina continued their journey, floating past ancient trees whose branches swayed gently in the evening breeze. They met a family of hedgehogs who were preparing for bed, and Cotton shared his knowledge about taking care of their tiny teeth. Marina's magical light helped them see how to brush even their smallest teeth properly. The hedgehogs curled up contentedly, their peaceful breathing joining the gentle symphony of nighttime sounds. As they floated higher, they could see the entire forest bathed in moonlight. Below them, owls glided silently between the trees, and crickets sang their soft lullaby. The stars above twinkled like diamonds scattered across a velvet sky, each one seeming to whisper sweet dreams to the forest below. Near a bubbling stream, they found a group of otters who were learning about keeping their teeth clean. Cotton and Marina showed them how important it was to brush after eating, and the otters practiced with smooth river pebbles, guided by Marina's gentle, magical light. The night air grew cooler, and Cotton felt his own eyes growing heavy. Marina noticed and said in her soft voice, "It's time to return home, dear friend. You've helped so many animals tonight." They drifted back toward Cotton's burrow, carried by a carpet of moonbeams and starlight. As they floated, they saw all the animals they had helped, now sleeping peacefully in their homes. The deer was dreaming under his fern canopy. The hedgehogs were snuggled together in their nest, and the otters were curled up by the stream, their teeth clean and bright. Back in his burrow, Cotton settled into his soft nest. Marina's light grew dimmer, more soothing. "Thank you for helping me teach others about taking care of their teeth," she whispered. "Every night, when you brush your teeth, remember our peaceful journey through the forest." Cotton's eyes grew heavier as Marina's light became as soft as starlight through morning mist. He thought about all the friendly animals they had met, all sleeping soundly in their forest homes. The gentle sound of leaves rustling outside his burrow reminded him of Marina's peaceful voice. As Cotton drifted off to sleep, he felt Marina return to her toothbrush form, still glowing faintly with magical starlight. The forest outside grew quieter, with only the gentle hooting of a distant owl and the soft whisper of wind through the trees. In his dreams, Cotton floated once again through the moonlit forest, surrounded by twinkling fireflies and gentle starlight. He dreamed of helping more forest friends learn about taking care of their teeth, all while being carried by warm, gentle breezes through the peaceful night sky. And so, Cotton slept peacefully in his cozy burrow, his purple toothbrush glowing softly beside him, while the forest night wrapped everything in its gentle, dark blanket. The stars continued their slow dance across the sky, watching over all the sleeping animals below, each one dreaming sweet dreams of magical adventures and kind friends who helped them learn and grow.